Welcome to a history chapter, where today we dive into one of the most pivotal naval clashes of the early 20th century, the Battle of Tsushima. This monumental battle not only determined the fate of the Russo-Japanese War, but also reshaped the course of world history, signaling the rise of Japan as a formidable global power and marking a turning point in naval warfare. Whether you're a history buff or just curious about the events that have shaped our world, this episode is for you. Let's set sail into history. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were marked by the imperial ambitions of European powers, the United States, and Japan, each seeking to expand their influence in Asia. Korea and Manchuria became focal points of contention, with Russia and Japan viewing control over these regions as crucial to their strategic and economic interests. Japan had undergone a remarkable transformation through the Meiji Restoration, rapidly industrializing and modernizing its society, military, and economy. This period marked Japan's emergence from centuries of relative isolation to become a formidable imperial power on par with Western nations. Conversely, Russia, despite its vast size and resources, grappled with internal strife, economic challenges, and technological lag, particularly in comparison to Western Europe and the emerging power of Japan. The Russo-Japanese War and the Battle of Tsushima underscored these weaknesses, exposing the extent of Russia's decline as a preeminent world power. The end of the 19th century brought rapid technological advancement in naval warfare, including the development of steel battleships, long-range guns, and wireless communication. It changed the impact of intelligence and reconnaissance, giving space for better understanding of enemy plans and possibilities. This doctrine influenced naval thinking and planning globally. The Russo-Japanese War was among the first conflicts to fully demonstrate the impact of these advancements, setting the stage for future naval engagements, including World War I. The Battle of Tsushima influenced naval doctrine and strategy, emphasizing the importance of speed, firepower, and effective use of technology in naval engagements. It also highlighted the strategic significance of controlling sea lanes and the impact of naval power on global politics. The conflict commenced with a surprise Japanese naval attack on the Russian Pacific Squadron at Port Arthur, now Lushunkou, on the night of February 8, 1904, predating a formal declaration of war. This bold initiative significantly damaged the Russian fleet and set the tone for a war that would largely be characterized by Japanese initiative and Russian attempts to recover. Following the initial assault, Japan launched ground invasions of both Korea and Manchuria. The Japanese army quickly secured Korea, then moved into Manchuria, where they laid siege to the strategic stronghold of Port Arthur. Simultaneously, the Japanese Navy sought to enforce a blockade on Port Arthur to cut off Russian forces from naval resupply and reinforcement. Russia's response to the early Japanese victories was hampered by logistical challenges and internal disarray. The Russian Baltic Fleet, stationed half a world away, was ordered to sail to the Far East to relieve the besieged forces at Port Arthur and restore Russian naval dominance in the region. This voyage, which would take the fleet around Africa and through the Indian Ocean to the Pacific, was a monumental undertaking, highlighting the global scale of the conflict and the lengths to which Russia would go to protect its Far Eastern interests. As the Russian Baltic Fleet, under the command of Admiral Zinovy Rozhestvensky, embarked on its lengthy journey, the Japanese continued their land offensives in Manchuria, achieving significant victories at battles such as Mukden and further pressuring the Russian military presence in the region. Meanwhile, Port Arthur fell to Japanese forces in January 1905 after a prolonged siege, further demoralizing the Russian war effort and eliminating a key naval base. The Russian fleet's journey was fraught with difficulties, including the Dogger Bank incident, where the Russian fleet mistakenly fired on British fishing trawlers in the North Sea, nearly sparking a diplomatic crisis with Britain. This incident underscored the tense international environment and the Russian fleet's state of heightened alertness and paranoia. By the time of the Battle of Tsushima, the stakes were incredibly high for both sides. For Japan, the engagement presented an opportunity to decisively eliminate the Russian naval threat to its dominance in East Asia and secure its territorial gains. For Russia, the battle was a chance to reverse the tide of the war, relieve its forces still fighting in Manchuria, and restore its prestige and position as a dominant Eurasian power. The encounter at Tsushima was not merely a battle, but a culmination of strategic decisions, logistical challenges, and the aspirations of two empires vying for control in East Asia. It was the inevitable clash resulting from months of warfare, the long and perilous journey of the Russian fleet, and the Japanese determination to solidify its gains and assert its status as a rising power. The Battle of Tsushima, fought on May 27, 28, 1905, was the decisive engagement of the Russo-Japanese War, pitting the Imperial Japanese Navy under Admiral Togo Hachiro against the Russian Baltic Fleet, renamed the Second Pacific Squadron, commanded by Admiral Zinovy Rozhestvensky. The Russian fleet, numbering 8 battleships, 3 coastal battleships, 9 cruisers, 9 destroyers, and 9 auxiliary vessels, had journeyed for months, covering over 18,000 nautical miles to reach the Pacific. The Japanese, meanwhile, were well prepared, having effectively blockaded Port Arthur and destroyed a significant portion of the Russian fleet stationed there. Admiral Togo had detailed intelligence on the Russian fleet's movements, thanks to the effective use of wireless telegraphy and a network of scouting ships. On May 27th, the Japanese combined fleet encountered the Russian Second Pacific Squadron in the Tsushima Strait, the narrow passage between Korea and Japan. The Japanese brought to battle 5 battleships, 29 cruisers, 3 gunboats, 21 destroyers, 45 torpedo boats, and 22 auxiliary vessels. Togo's fleet executed a maneuver known as crossing the T, a tactic that allowed his ships to line up perpendicular to the advance of the Russian fleet. This positioning maximized the Japanese fleet's firepower while minimizing the number of guns the Russians could bring to bear. The battle commenced in the late afternoon and continued into the following day. The Japanese fleet, superior in speed, gunnery, and torpedo technology, inflicted severe damage on the Russian ships, which were slower and less maneuverable. The Russians fought bravely but were outmatched in both tactics and technology. The night between May 27th and 28th saw chaotic malaise as the Japanese fleet launched torpedoes into the disarrayed Russian ships, exacerbating the damage and confusion. By the morning of May 28th, the outcome was clear. The Russian fleet had been decimated, with most of its ships either sunk, captured, or forced to scuttle by their crews to avoid capture. Admiral Rozhestvensky was severely wounded and eventually captured by the Japanese. Despite the overwhelming victory, the Japanese fleet did not emerge unscathed, suffering damage to several ships and facing casualties, though minimal in comparison to the Russian losses. They estimated around 5,000 people dead, around 1,000 injured, and 6,000 captured, and also 7 battleships and 14 other ships sunken, 5 ships captured, and 6 others disarmed, while the Japanese lost only 3 torpedo boats and around 200 people. The Battle of Tsushima is often cited as a clear demonstration of the importance of technological superiority, effective use of intelligence, and superior tactics in naval warfare. The Japanese fleet's use of wireless communication allowed for better coordination and adaptability in battle. Their ships were equipped with more powerful and accurate guns, and their crews were better trained in gunnery and torpedo warfare. Moreover, Togo's tactical decisions, particularly the maneuver to cross the T, showcased his understanding of the principles of naval warfare and his ability to apply them effectively. The devastating loss of the Russian Baltic Fleet effectively ended Russia's naval presence in the Pacific and its ability to contest Japan's maritime dominance. With the Russian naval threat neutralized, Japan could fully concentrate on its land operations in Manchuria, further tightening its grip on the region. The comprehensive defeat also demoralized the Russian public and military, exacerbating existing discontent and contributing to the outbreak of the 1905 Russian Revolution, a significant precursor to the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. The battle expedited the conclusion of the Russo-Japanese War. Both nations were exhausted by the conflict, both financially and militarily. But Tsushima swung the diplomatic balance decisively in Japan's favor. Under the mediation of U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, the Treaty of Portsmouth was signed in September 1905. Japan emerged as the clear victor, securing recognition of its interests in Korea and Manchuria, including the lease of the Liaodong Peninsula and the southern half of Sakhalin Island. However, Japan's failure to secure a large indemnity from Russia left some Japanese feeling the victory was incomplete, leading to domestic unrest in the form of the Hibiya riots. Tsushima signaled the arrival of Japan as a major world power and the first non-European nation to defeat a European power in modern times. This victory challenged the prevailing racial and imperial hierarchies, inspiring colonized peoples in Asia and beyond, with the possibility of successful resistance against European imperial powers. The battle and the war also marked a decline in Russian influence in East Asia, contributing to a power vacuum that would have implications for the region's stability, particularly in Korea and China. This shift would later influence the actions of other powers in the region, including the United States and Germany, and set the stage for future conflicts. The battle had a lasting impact on naval strategy and technology. It underscored the importance of naval power and modernization, leading to a global arms race, particularly in battleship construction, known as the Dreadnought Arms Race. The battle and the subsequent treaty showcased the United States' growing role in international diplomacy and as a Pacific power. Theodore Roosevelt's successful mediation earned him the Nobel Peace Prize and marked a step toward the U.S., taking a more assertive position on the global stage. Furthermore, the Russo-Japanese War, culminating in the Battle of Tsushima, highlighted the strategic importance of the Pacific region, setting the stage for future international rivalry and conflict, including World War I and later the Pacific theater of World War II. Thank you for joining us on this historical voyage through the Battle of Tsushima, a clash that not only defined the outcome of the Russo-Japanese War, but also signaled the dawn of modern naval warfare and shifted the balance of power in the early 20th century. If you've enjoyed unraveling the complexities and the impact of the Battle of Tsushima with us, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to A History Chapter for more deep dives into the moments that have shaped our world. Your support helps us bring more stories from the annals of history to life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep turning the pages of history with us. Farewell, and see you in the next chapter of our journey through the past.